Hello, I am Alden, one of the singers for Mage Band.
Yes, and I am Gabe, the other singer for Mage Band.
Well, that's crazy. There's two of them? No
Yeah,
way. There's two,
I know,
there's
right?
two singers? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of
Anyways.
weird, truly.
Anyways.
Today we have decided, I say today we decided to do this a long time ago, but we are very lazy.
We talked about this when the
At
album
one,
was coming out.
yeah, we did. And at one point we were getting close to like, what was it, like December or something? I'm like, wow, maybe this would be a great time to do like a 6 month anniversary or something, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
Album's 6 months old, and then that didn't happen. So here we are now in I don't know how old the album is now, but hey, less than a year, I guess.
We're
But yeah,
still under that year limit. That's all that
yeah,
matters.
exactly. That's all that matters. The album is still somewhat relevant in my eyes. So this is just a little track by track. We're going to just kind of go through the album, kind of explain songs, go through like the process of each song, things like that. Gonna be a good time, I think.
I agree. Yeah, what Gabe said. It's something we've discussed for a long time, and I think it will be interesting because this album took us a while. Honestly, we were
It
working on it
did,
for like
honestly.
a year and a half, 2 years probably. Let's get into our first track.
The first track is actually Alden. What is the name of the first track?
Oh, the first album of our track. The first track of our album is "Stop Listening," as you can see listed on the back of this handy CD here. That I've got.
Buy it now. DM us on Instagram. We'll send you a copy. I'm not kidding. It's gonna be what, $5, $10, something like that. We
They're
gotta
they're
profit
cheap.
somehow.
They're cheap. We
Yeah,
gotta profit. Starving
cheapest CDs on the
artists.
market. Exactly.
Stop listening to our first EP. Believe it or not, it's really easy to just stop listening to our first EP. It's traction we made back when we were slightly more lazy. The first track on here is "Stop Listening," which was written specifically because our first EP, which was written, I don't remember what the published track was or published name it was under, but it was originally supposed to be "Sent from My iPhone," right? Something like
Yeah,
that.
that was the original name. And then it turned into at some point we changed it to We Made a Thing.
Yeah, we made a thing. That was it. And it
Yeah.
was getting a lot of streams still for some reason. It was still like near the top of our Spotify stuff, and
Yeah.
um,
And see, there's nothing wrong with liking, artists' older songs and stuff, the classics. But this EP contained zero classics.
it was made in 2016 or so, probably
Yeah,
something
2016 or
like that.
17, one of those two. Um,
Where I don't think either of us knew too much about producing music,
yeah,
and
not at
it
all.
was sort of just the two of us, a ukulele and an iPhone,
And
and
Audacity.
Audacity, and we made music, and that's what's notable about that is that we did make stuff.
The EP did contain music, fun
it,
fact.
it came out, so that's pretty impressive if you ask me.
So
But
true.
it wasn't particularly great, and most of the stuff that was good off of it, we ended up doing again. We
Yeah.
remaking. I think I feel bad for us because I can't remember the tracks off that EP super well, honestly. And I don't think we ever made a physical of that one, so I can't check here.
Wow. Imagine just like time traveling going back to us in that moment and being like, guys, what songs are on this EP? I don't remember.
I think it's still on our Bandcamp. I can pull it up.
It's still on our Bandcamp, and I think there's a playlist on YouTube. But yeah, we took it off Spotify, funny enough, a little before this album came out. But obviously wrote it while it was still on there, and people were streaming and all that stuff.
It was something. It was something specific set us off, and I think it was that one of those songs was like number two from that EP, and it made no sense to us, and we were getting annoyed about it.
Yeah, one specific thing that annoyed me personally is that one of the songs from the EP, Socially Deprived, we remade and it was much better
Oh
and
man.
people were still streaming the older version and I think that was like the tipping point where I'm like, okay, we got to take this off of Spotify.
So I just checked because I was curious. There are in fact only four songs on this, really, two interludes.
Yeah.
interludes. One of them is an outro and one of them is an interlude. The only two that are notable really are Socially Deprived and then Have a Good Day, which I don't think we've ever remade.
No, that one, honestly, I feel like if we were to remake another song off of it, that would be the one to do.
Probably. That was my other favorite from that one, personally.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the sort of the backstory to Stop Listening is just the frustration of we've made better stuff now. We've made
Yeah.
better stuff. There's no reason to be going back to this all the time, all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And little fun fact is that for whatever reason, I don't know if you were a part of this too, Alden, but for whatever reason, I wanted this album to have so many songs that had like long titles. And the title for this song was going to be Stop Listening to Our First EP because it's trash or something like that. Um,
Oh yeah, I
and
remember us talking about that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And at one point, I forget when this happened, but at one point I was like, okay, let's shorten it to Stop Listening because something is very like appealing to me when you look at our album track list and the first track is Stop Listening. So you kind of get an idea in your head, but it's funny because the idea is actually, please listen to this instead. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's definitely sort of the vibe we're going for. Is
yeah.
just this is better. I'm a lot more proud of this album than I am of what we made originally. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, and another little fun fact is that this is one of two songs that we tried recording before we made the final version. And the first time around, we like recorded it, and the verses were like the essence of the verses were the same within the lyrics and everything, but it was a lot more wordy, and so we just kind of like talked through the verses, and it was like, I don't know about this. Like it wasn't bad per se, but I was much more a fan of adding more of a melody to it
I think
than
that
kind
was
of
a good
doing it
idea in
that
the
way.
long run. Definitely. It's
Yeah, for sure.
it's also notable to say that there is a bleep in that. I don't think we can ever reveal what's underneath that bleep. Just keep wondering. Just keep thinking about it.
Yeah, keep wondering. We're never going to tell you.
We
I'm
were
going to
gonna
take that to the
include it, and
grave.
then we were like, "This is a bad idea. Let's just bleep
Yeah.
it out."
What's really funny actually is that our producer, Sir Eric Sage,
God
he
bless him.
for real, he is someone who he has like the least filter out of all of us, I feel like.
Probably.
And it's really funny because he was the one who told me, actually, you guys should like take that out.
When he's telling you that, you gotta listen to him.
You gotta
Honestly,
listen for real.
there's no coming back from that one.
Oh, so
So,
true, so true.
all right,
But yeah, that's the essence of that song.
all right. Second track, Optimistic. Hold on, we gotta listen to it.
Because I'm way too optimistic for someone who lives a life that's so masochistic. Always treats me badly and I end up living. Cause I just can't bring myself to be pessimistic. Oh!
So, something just right off the bat I want to say about that song is that that was one that came really easy for us, I think, in the album sequencing. Because I mean, one thing specifically is that Stop Listening ends with like little chuck of the uke, and then this one begins with that. So just a little cool thing. It felt natural, and even aside of that, I just feel like it's a good song after the intro to just kind of like get going, basically.
Yeah, we took a couple passes at sequencing the whole album together.
Yeah,
But Stop Listening and Optimistic, I think, all pretty much stayed put the whole time. I
yeah,
mean,
for
Stop
sure.
Listening obviously didn't really move much. That was built to be an opener.
Wow, track 5, Stop Listening.
Track 5, Stop Listening. Welcome
Oh,
to this album. Oh well.
yikes. Another little fun story about the song though is that the first verse was kind of like the catalyst for it in a way, because that was something that I was kind of going through at the time. Because one of my downfalls is that on occasion I'll be a little too optimistic about something that's kind of obvious it's not going to work out. And in the case of the first verse, um, there was a girl I was talking to, and I was like, "Oh, this might work out." Guess what? It did not. So, and that's even after I wrote the song actually, so that makes it even better.
I do want to note that until really late into the recording of this whole thing, that first verse started differently. It was like a very last
did.
minute change. We were like, or you were like, I think this doesn't flow quite right. I think we need to change something. And I was like, okay, sure. Let's try something else. And so now I will catch myself if I'm like singing along to this, singing it incorrectly
Oh.
for that beginning part because I'm like not used to it.
Yeah.
Starting that way. I will
Yeah,
also
it was a pretty last minute change.
I also want to say, and you can cut this out if you want, but I just think it's a funny comment. In that you mentioned that this was you downfall of being optimistic with a girl. I like to call this whole album Gabe's breakup album.
Oh my god.
Because it's a running theme.
No, actually though, something funny. There are 3 songs on the album that are like inspired by that entire thing, and that is the second track, a track in the middle, which we'll get to, and then the penultimate track. So it's literally like beginning, middle, end. You get that?
I just think it's funny.
Yeah,
that's sort of how that's sort of how I dubbed it in my head. Was the project that we were working on.
No, that's pretty funny though. It's not far off. But yeah, I another thing that I like about this track too is that something that we experimented with on this album a little bit was kind of, I guess, going a little further instrumentally, and that kind of came into the bridge of this song where there's like some finger picking going on, which, you know, I think paid off because that took a little bit for me to get right. And if you asked me to play that right now, I could not. So I'm glad we recorded that.
I think overall, because everything else we've done has been pretty simple musically.
Yeah.
Just generally, we've stuck to more simple stuff. It's been more of our style, but I think leaning more into both being a little more intricate with the music, and also we leaned. You'll hear it in some of the other tracks too, but we leaned a lot more into the electric sound for the ukulele specifically.
Yeah.
I think that made it sound pretty good, personally. I like how that sounds, because that's always been my taste in music. And I know it's part of your taste in music, though you have a wide taste. A wide, slightly different taste to mine.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it's funny that we do have different tastes in music in certain ways. And it's like Mage is kind of like where we meet.
It's the crossover point for us, for both of us, sort of musically. And a lot of that crossover comes in like indie rock, I think, usually. Indie rock, and then like alt pop, sort of that vague area, a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of where we mix. So that's sort of what we strive for. All right, then let's get into this next one. Not a Sweet Life.
I just want to live a sweet life. Is that so much to ask? It's kind of hard for me to feel like luxury when I can't even take a bath.
That was the one we chose as the lead single for the album.
I'd say this is one of my 2 favorites off of this album, personally, I think. Because there's another one that I like. I don't hear it mentioned super often, but there's another one on here that's one of my favorites.
This is one where we really started to experiment a bit more with kind of layering vocals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like specifically the Free Continental Breakfast line. If I could probably pull up some recordings right now, just bare bones, and you'll hear one of us going Free Continental Breakfast.
We probably each took a solid. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say maybe 10 takes each.
Yeah, for sure.
Just of that, just so that we could layer them all on top of each other and make this weird little line. Free Continental Breakfast. Free Continental Breakfast.
Yeah. That was a fun little idea to like just record those a bunch and then kind of split them up between left and right.
Yeah, it was that, and then with we leaned hard into that radio effect for that little bridge/chorus section.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing was that after the first chorus where you hear like the little the plucking pattern, the first verse was supposed to feature that, and then our producer Eric, he was just like, hey, let me just try this little piano effect, the keyboard effect, whatever it was. And we were just like, yeah, that sounds great. So it worked out.
Yeah, it
Um,
credit to that, because that, I think, is one of the best parts of that song is, excuse me,
yeah,
the piano at the very beginning.
yeah, for sure. And I think that makes the first chorus even better when it comes up because it's like, oh, now we're doing ukulele again.
Yeah,
Kind of. Yeah, it makes it feel more fresh, I guess.
it's
Is one way to put it.
the piano itself is very reminiscent of those like old, just sort of synth kind of, like synth organ kind of keyboards, which personally is a sound that I like a lot.
And also when the second verse does start up and it gets back into like kind of a different drum beat, which I really like, and how before that I see I'm not a bass player, so I don't know what it's called, but it feels like the bass is like powering up before going into it,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I like that a lot. I was very, very pleased the first time I heard that. I'm like, this is us?
that's I remember having the same reaction of just like, oh, this is what, when we put this all together, this is what it sounds like. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
maybe
sure.
maybe we
For sure.
can make music after
Yeah.
after 3 albums or whatever.
Oh,
About
honestly
three
though,
albums, we can finally make a music. So we made a lot of
crazy.
music. Yeah, we've made a lot of music.
Low key, yeah.
Not gonna lie, we kind of popped off with making music.
Yo, if you go to like our discography playlist on Spotify, you can listen to just our music for an hour, basically.
Whoa, no way!
That's kind of wild.
You're telling me that you can listen to an hour of our 1 minute long songs? No way.
Yeah.
It should be noted that even though we sort of tried to go a little bit longer with this album, we still ended up with a lot of songs that are about 2 minutes long.
Yeah, yeah, honestly.
It's our
And yet
specialty.
yeah, because before this, our first two albums, they came slightly close, I think, specifically the first one, but neither of them crossed the 20-minute mark, and this does. It's like
Really?
25 minutes. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Did neither of them actually crack? I didn't know that.
No.
Or I forgot that. I'm a terrible band member. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it. I'm gonna
Nah,
go out
you're
and say
good.
it. Yeah. We strayed a little far from the actual song here.
Yeah,
And
we
I'll,
did.
I'll I'll
The
I'll give my quick anecdote in that
Mhm.
as a child I never watched The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I did not know who we were talking about when we were singing about Esteban. I just want to make that note. I do now, but
Nah,
I still
fair.
haven't seen the show. I just know who we're talking about now.
What makes it funnier is that this is one of your favorite songs too.
It is.
But no, actually, a little backstory though is that this song kind of came out of at one point. I was just at a hotel, shocker, and I was actually on the phone. I think it was, I forget exactly. I think had started writing music for the album, and there was just a point where I was just kind of like, alone in the room or whatever, and so I was on the phone with Eric, and I told him I was in a hotel, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? You should like write a song about that because hotels are weird." And I was like, "You know what? Sure." And obviously, my mind was like, since I grew up with the show, I was like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going to like equate it to Sweet Life." So
Hmm.
yeah,
And it worked out. I don't have too much more to add on this one other than it's a banger.
it's a banger. It's pretty straightforward in the lyrical department, but it's what it is.
It's
Sometimes that's all you need.
yeah, it's got Esteban in it. So really, what else are you asking for?
Exactly, exactly. So
Yeah,
much fun.
Who's Esteban?
He's from the show.
All right, you want to get into this next track here?
About my IKEA shell. Da, 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 da. I'll build an IKEA shell. Da, 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 da. I'll build an IKEA shell to organize things and help me to figure out my complicated mental health.
All right, our next track is called DIY, or How an IKEA Shelf Pulled Me Out of a Depressive Episode.
And so do I, because guess what?
What?
I am going to therapy after this.
Hell yeah. That's the only time we've ever sworn on an album, technically.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't even realize that was the fact until I was listening to it in the car like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Well, because we had talked about doing it like a couple weeks ago, and so I was like, "Oh, I should get ready for this," and then we just totally forgot to.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was like, I should give this a listen really quick.
If we refer to the song throughout this, we'll just call it DIY.
Yeah.
And so can you, audience. Alden, would you like to explain the title?
Yeah, sure. So this was written in two different parts. The first part was the title was written because I was going through a very bad depressive episode and built an IKEA shelf, and it helped me pull me out of it. I wish I was joking. You can see if I just pan over this shelf right here, this one right against the wall, is the shelf that helped pull me out of a pretty bad depressive episode. Specifically because it was in the middle of 2020, and I wasn't doing anything. I just graduated, and I didn't have a job anymore, and so I was just sort of at home doing nothing constantly. So I thought of this title on a whim and texted Gabe. I was like, we got to use this. This is a great title. And then Gabe worked the magic behind the actual lyrics as he does.
Yeah. But no, something funny about it is that it's not even like true. Like the song itself lyrically is not true to your story. It's funny because the title actually kind of misleads, because at the end, the character does not end up coming out of the depressive episode.
True. Not true to my story.
Yeah,
Also,
so the title kind of lies there, but you know.
I want to be clear. It's not technically an IKEA shelf. I lied about that. I just thought it was catchier.
Yeah, for sure.
It was just a shelf I bought.
Wow. Imagine if we called it like how an Amazon shelf? It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. No, not at
No, it
all.
doesn't sound good. IKEA or bust, for real.
So true. So true. If you don't have the IKEA furniture, what are you doing? Honestly, it should also be like just a fun fact. All the titles off of in the second verse there, when we're just listing off titles of movies. I believe those are all from your shelf. Is that correct?
So funny story. I do not own half of those movies, at least. Literally, what happened? So I had the idea for the second verse. I was like, you know what would be great if we like listed movies in alphabetical order. And to do that, you want to know what I did?
What did you do?
I literally looked up multiple letterbox lists, like movies that start with A, movies that start with B. Because you can find like any list of anything on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
truly,
you're
someone's
right.
made it.
No, you're right.
So that's how I went through that, and then goodness, let me see if I still have like the note, because I wrote down like a lot. There must have been at least like 30 movies that I wrote down that I could like figure out how to fit into a verse and make it rhyme and everything like that.
I really thought these all came from your shelf, and I feel a little bit lied to now. I'm say
so
it.
sorry. I don't think I have the note anymore, but I promise you there had to be like 30 to 50 movies in there.
Are you just trying to mash together words to make them rhyme, or titles to make them rhyme?
Because like it was a challenge to both like make them rhyme and also fit the flow of the song without like, you know, sounding a little off. Like, oh, that's too many syllables, that's too little, whatever it is. It's funny. It ended up sounding the way it did. And this was like totally purposeful, how Blade Runner and Beauty and the Beast, those are like swapped, and we
Beauty
brought
and the
that
Beast
up
should be
in the little-
first.
Yeah.
Saying. If you're sorting alphabetically.
Truthfully, I didn't want to try to find another movie that would have like rhymed and all that stuff. I was just like, no, but the flow is too good. So it's like we'll put in like a little self-aware line there, I guess.
You got to
then
acknowledge it at least.
Yeah, exactly. And then the the second half of that is in alphabetical order. So yeah.
It's also interesting to note. This is going back a second, but I wrote the title, and then probably like 4 or 5 months later, I got a text from Gabe that just said, "Hey, I wrote lyrics to this one. Can we record it sometime?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. I guess."
Why not?
Like,
it's one that
yeah.
with that title, it was like, yeah, this had to be included, basically.
Got to include it.
Too much to pass up.
Honestly, let's get into our next one then, which would be unhealthy mindset. I like that it started for a second, and then...
That's great.
It's such a horrible feeling to think about somebody you once knew. Well, they probably spend 0 days out of 365 thinking about you. I really need to think better than this. Can someone please help me get out of this unhealthy mindset?
That was Unhealthy Mindset. You are listening to 102.9 The Mage. I always think of stuff while we're listening and then immediately forget it as soon as the song is over, which is cool.
That's dope.
What was I about to say? I remember at least one of my things. It's something that we went back, not back and forth on, but we, we're trying to nail down for a while, was the ending of this one. Excuse me.
Yes.
We sort of had the last verse there and then weren't sure where to go with it.
Yeah.
Off that is what I remember.
Yeah, so with that ending, something I want to actually touch on, though, is this, out of the entire album, this is the only song that we recorded together, like, in person.
Yeah, okay, that's the other thing I wanted to... Because I wasn't sure, so I wanted to ask you. But yeah, we recorded this in my basement, where I am currently located. It was a fun little day-long rush. Not day-long, but... Oh, Gabe, did you die? Oh, shucks.
We were definitely kind of just sitting around for, like, maybe at least 30 minutes trying to, like, figure out exactly, like, how to end it and what tune to go with.
We were just messing around with the ukulele, and one of us played it, and we were both like, oh, sure, okay. And then it was more so just figuring out, like, we're using this melody right here. Are we going to go back into a chorus? Are we just going to cut it?
Yeah.
What's the play?
Yeah, it was definitely a fun one to put together, and I like that ending because it's so unique, I guess. Like, it's one of the most out there things I feel like we've done.
Yeah, it's
in a way.
It's a lot different than a lot of the other endings. We usually just sort of cut. I think is generally
it just
what
cuts at the end of a chorus or something like that.
Yeah,
basically,
or play like a final little couple chords or whatever. But we don't tend to draw it out like that, though. We messed with doing it on this album a little bit, especially here in a different here and in a different track. It sort of adds some finality, in my opinion. It sort of gives you a second to like go, oh, it was winding down.
I guess when you initially start like listening to the song, like you wouldn't have guessed that ending would have come like a minute into it or anything like that. Basically, it kind of takes you by surprise, and that's part of what I like about it. But as far as like everything else in the in the song though that comes before it, it was still kind of experimental for us in a way. Just the whole the whole strum pattern and having that like loop basically. I forget exactly how long I played that for. I know at one point it was just getting too much, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to loop this. I just don't remember like at what point. I couldn't tell you at what point it loops, but
I do remember that we did have to like we just recorded you playing that for like a minute, and then you were just like, I have to stop. My hand hurts.
Yeah,
something like that.
For real. But yeah, I know that one of our friends actually described it as ukulele surf grunge, and I'm like, hey, I'll take it.
I forgot about that. Being said. Yeah, no, I remember.
No, that stuck with me.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It kind of feels that way. Sort of in general, it feels a little more moody, especially because and something I like a lot about it is the beginning being a little more eye-catching for its off-putting. Oh man, I'm not very good at technical music terms. But
you're good.
It's an off-putting tone. It's not in a major key. Off the, I don't think. Is it?
I don't think so. I couldn't tell you personally, but
anyways,
yeah.
That doesn't matter. Neither of us really care about that. I'm gonna go off and guess that. But it grabs your attention a little bit, especially because we usually open with brighter openings, and this is sort of it's like and then it's a really good. Oh, I'm gonna bust out a word here. Dichotomy too.
Oh.
Did I use the word correctly?
Let's find out.
If I did, it's a really good dichotomy too. The chorus, which is a lot more upbeat, I think it makes it sound really good.
No, you used it correctly.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm smart. Yeah. I know a word.
Let's go. Yeah, no, you're right though. And something I want to bring up about this is that I can't tell you the exact point. It was either 2019 or 2020 where I actually wrote the chorus for it. And I was trying to figure out like what the verse would be because this was one of uh, the rare times that I wrote the chorus. I had like I think I had the chords for that and everything, but when it came to the verses, I just had the lyrics, and I was like, how do I do this exactly? I kind of had like a vague melody in my head, but even that was kind of different from what it ended up being. It just took some time to like finally get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. It's I remember hearing about this one a couple times of you going, I've got something, it's just a chorus right now, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
Yeah, this one was definitely around for a while. For a while, we just called it like odds are, I think.
I think I've got a couple copies of it in like our chat or just sent back and forth that are just called odds are because we didn't have a title quite yet, which is kind of surprising based on the chorus that we
Yeah,
didn't
honestly,
settle on that a little faster.
yeah. But yeah, no, that's definitely one that, funny enough, because it is like one of the most different on the album. I wasn't really expecting many people to like be into it, but it ended up being a decent few people's like one of their top favorites actually.
I feel like I've heard that from a couple people.
It was funny because once, because I was a little slightly insecure about it, and then when it came out and people liked it, I was like, yeah, it is a great song, isn't it?
Hey, I'll say it, banger.
It is a banger,
banger song.
I must say. And it's definitely one where if we ever did do like a live show, I would probably hire someone else to play the ukulele because my fingers would be dead after that.
Yeah. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, because
dun.
that's just they're just bar chords, and that
Yeah.
hurts a little while. Like some people can do that, like Green Day, that's like all of their songs, but
I
but
don't
for me, it's like I can't do that.
I don't play enough instruments to be good at that. The only thing I we've never used the instrument I play on a song actually. That's weird. I've
That's
realized that.
funny. We should at some point. We'll figure that out.
I don't think that my violin is even remotely tuned right now, and I think it might explode if I try and tune it. So that'll be interesting.
And I guess a little, as long as we're doing like backstory, this one I think is like decently self-explanatory, but it was basically just like, it's just one where sometimes someone just like stops talking to you, and it be that way.
Yeah, no, I've had that happen to me a couple times. It sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah, for real. Shout out, Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, so true. Just don't like you no more. So this next one on 109 the Mage will be Marlowe.
Marlowe, you just always have to bring me down. You can never give me hope without giving me the sweet sound of being disappointed in the end.
So, as far as this track and the track that comes after it go, I don't know which one we fully recorded first, because one thing I do know, and I can confirm, is that this was the first song that I recorded uke for.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't recall exactly how the vocals went and everything like that, but either way, it was the first one that we recorded uke for.
I would probably say that this one was the first one mastered.
Yeah,
If I had to throw a guess out there, because it's so short, and I think we got it finished faster than the other track that we recorded alongside it. But this one was in our bank for a while.
I want to say this is one of the ones I think I wrote in 2020.
Okay.
It might have been 2021. I can't say for certain. It was just a while before, we officially started recording.
Yeah, I like this track a lot, just for its simplicity.
Yeah,
I'm always
definitely.
a fan of the 30-second or so interlude.
It's funny. This is the first interlude we've had where we haven't named it interlude number
True.
here.
I think we debated it.
Yeah.
If we wanted to call it interlude, but we also by the time we were doing track listing, it was already far too late to change the name. We were set on it being called Marlowe, I think.
I do like that a lot personally. I like that as far as, because in my opinion, I think this is our best album to date, as you can tell.
Yeah,
by the
I think
title.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and if someone had to ask about our music, this is probably I would be like, hey, listen to this album. Um, and I like the idea of it being called Marlowe, and rather it being called like Interlude 4, um, it wouldn't be tied to anything else basically,
Hmm.
and that's something I like about that. Because it was a fun little trend for a while. Honestly, it was good, but it's like we have the interlude trilogy basically,
Yeah, I'm okay
and
with
then
leaving it at that, and then just sort of doing this with it. And also, I'd say that this doesn't, in my head, it no longer feels like an interlude to me, and it feels more like a prequel to this upcoming track. In my
yes,
head, they work hand in hand. That's also because we recorded them very close together, and I listened to them together very, very often. So
out of sequencing the album, we had Stop Listening and Optimistic. We know those two had to be together, and then we knew that Marlowe and G's, the next track, had to go together. And yeah, I think it's a very, I guess, like a very good midpoint of the album. It's one of our most, I guess, not to sound like, um, I don't even know the word for it. uh, hold on, I got to think of what it is. Otherwise, I'm going to be so annoyed.
you'll get it. You'll get it.
I'm gonna get it. Hold on.
While Gabe's thinking, I'm gonna remind everybody we got CDs in case you want one. It's got cool art on the back that was taken in my backyard, kind of near my backyard,
Yes.
and on my basement floor.
Hmm.
And it's good. We worked really hard on it. We're both really proud of this album. You should listen to it again. Do it again. You didn't hear my breathing into your ear on the fourth track. I do that. Keep listening.
I was going to say not to sound semi-pretentious,
Okay.
but I would say that Marlowe is like one of our more serious sounding songs, I guess you could say.
I don't think that sounds pretentious at all. I think that's just factual.
Yeah, that's fair. I just needed to say it.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, um, it's one that just kind of came together. I think I wrote it decently quickly, and I just knew that there's nothing else that needs to happen in it. That was it. And it's funny too. This was like at a time as well before I wrote the track that comes after. It was just kind of like by itself for a while, and then it just felt right once we wrote the next one and everything. So
These two thematically feel good together, but I think we can touch on that in a second here. After we
yeah,
listen to G's.
yeah, and as far as I guess backstory on this song goes, it's kind of one of the most, I guess, not straight up songs. Like, I feel like there are multiple meanings you could probably apply to it, whether it be like an actual person or just like, I don't know, a metaphor for life getting you down in general, whatever it may be. To be quite honest, I don't recall the intention that I had when I wrote it anymore. It kind of just gained a life of its own, I guess, but I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, that's really all there is to say about Marlowe.
I think Gabe has hit most of it. I will maybe add more after we listen to G's, because
For
I have
sure.
something to say about album sequencing. Uh,
Yeah.
so don't let me forget that, because
Yeah,
I
I won't let you
will.
forget. I'll
All
bring
right.
it up.
Up next, G's.
Jeez, you're making me so lonely. I really wish you would go and show me that you can actually talk before instead of making me worry that you're not holy. I fully acknowledge that you're going through stuff, but that doesn't mean you're the only one who has got it wrong.
So that was G's. That and Marlowe are the first tracks we recorded for this. Sometime
Yes.
in early 2020. I don't remember exactly when.
I want to say the recording process started around like August 2021.
Was it August? Okay. A lot of that is a blur to me. I'll say that much. But this and Marlowe were the first tracks we recorded, and it's maybe not too surprising as this is, I think, the most hyper and upbeat song on the album. I'd
Yeah.
say probably this one is my favorite. Probably this and Not a Sweet
Yeah.
Life are my favorite tracks off this album.
This definitely remains a big favorite for me.
Yeah, I love the tempo. I love being up tempo and fast. That's up my alley. Oh no, not again!
This is definitely like the peak of my breakup songs. For
Yes, yeah.
sure.
That's another reason why again, you can cut this if you want, or keep referring to it as
Nah, I'm not
Gabe's
gonna cut
breakup
it.
Gabe's breakup album, is because this is one of the first songs we recorded, and so I was like, this is the theme.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I wrote this definitely when I was definitely at like a breaking point in that arc for me, my villain arc. No, but yeah, we had like optimistic. That was like the beginning of it, and it's funny. There's like no middle stuff because there was never any like actual real relationship. Um, and this was just kind of like the end of it, of how things were kind of uh, fizzling out between me and this person. We were both kind of going through a bit of a hard time, and so I wanted to like, I was like, hey, let's kind of talk to each other about it. Maybe we'll feel better that way. We're already like good friends at the time, maybe leading to more. But at that time, uh, she was just kind of like, you know, leaving a bit,
Yeah.
and that it just got to a point where I was like, man, I need to get some energy out, write a song.
Hmm. That's
And I
one.
did.
That's one way to do it. Yeah.
I remember specifically that I worked at a grocery store when I thought of the song. This like the idea came to my head, and I was thinking of like at least the basics of the first verse. And I swear, like the first second that I was able to like step away, and it wasn't like busy, I was able to step away. I pulled out the voice memos, and I was like just whispering into it, like I can't forget this. This is too good. Thankfully, I did that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have like one of the best songs on the album. But
True. True.
yeah, the first verse came together pretty quickly, as well as the chorus. And fun fact about that actually is that I believe as soon as I got like the entire song written, I might have sent it to you too. I played a demo of it, just like a run through, and the first like what 7 to 10 seconds of the song of like the ukulele that is from the that demo.
Hmm.
So
I think I heard the demo. I didn't know that off the top of my head though. So that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Huh.
for sure. I just thought it'd be fun to
Yeah.
do that, especially because this album is like the first time where we were not like recording everything on my phone. And so I thought it'd be a fun idea to include like the little memo, the voice memo, which was recorded on my phone, and then it snaps into like being, a bit more higher production.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I just thought that'd be a cool idea, especially with the ukulele being like distorted and everything.
Yeah. I don't have much to add, but I will say on the topic of this and Marlowe being together, I
Album
think
sequencing.
album sequencing, something. This is a weird Alden side note, but I used to take a bunch of fiddle lessons, and at some point, something that you go over in fiddle lessons when you're doing fiddle lessons with an insane old man who was very nice, but it was insane. Is that you do set listing with your music, and so that's something that I've always tried to pay attention to is how things are listed in like playlists, and especially for our tracks. And one of the things you learn there is like you have to like do a couple upbeat in a row, and then slow it back down, and then go up again and down, up and down, to keep the audience engaged. And so that's, I think, why, in my opinion, Marlowe and G's go so well together, because
Mhm.
they flow right into each other, and it goes like all the way down to the lowest, like
Yeah.
arguably slowest, maybe not quite, but track
Mhm.
into like this super hyper thing, and then back. You'll see with our next track, it goes back down into something a little slower before
Yeah.
sort of speeding up back to a normal speed for the end.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So that's just interesting to me.
No, yeah, no, I
That's
find that
Alden
to be
interesting.
yeah, no, I find that to be a pretty interesting take on it. Because that's nothing that I'm very well versed in, but
I'm not very well versed in it either. I just it's something that you learn with an insane old guy teaching you to fiddle for
well,
some reason.
but yeah, no, that's a great point though. I definitely do like that a lot. And how in a way again you can kind of interpret Marlowe as kind of like the prequel to this song, and the kind of okay, now we're getting sad, and then like this song comes up and it's like okay, now we're sad still, but we're like angry about it. You know what I mean?
It's almost like you can view these two songs as sort of its own little story of Marlowe being the catalyst into G's,
Yeah,
if that
definitely.
makes sense.
No, I get you. I get you for sure.
On to the next one. This will be Cheer You Up is up next.
I want to cheer you up right now. I want to cheer you up. I know it feels like the whole world is falling down, so I want to cheer you up.
That was Cheer You Up on 109 The Mage.
Got the
Next
voice
up-
down and everything.
See, that's my goal. That's my goal, is to get the radio announcer.
And next up, we've got Helter Skelter by The Beatles.
So that was Cheer You Up. You want to hear a fun little story about Cheer You Up?
I would love to hear a fun little story about Cheer You Up.
Here's my fun little story about Cheer You Up. I record usually in my basement. Is what is standard for me. I live at home with my parents, and I am fairly self-conscious because I don't think that I'm a very good singer. So this song recording required me to do a bit of screaming at the end, and I did not really want to do that at all, because I am, again, I was a lot more self-conscious about my singing at the time. I'm not now, because I'm like, who cares? If I sing bad, that's on you. I sing great to me. So,
The correct way to think.
exactly. But so for like a while, I was trying to figure out how I could record this while not being in the house, because everyone was home all the time. And one of my ideas was just to go into my car and like take my laptop and stuff into my car and do it. And so I ended up just like doing it when I was home, and then staying in the basement for like 3 more hours without emerging, and hoping that no one asked any questions. And I think it turned out pretty good.
Oh, good.
Because personally, the build on that is one of my favorite moments, especially on that song. I love the build there. I think it's so cool.
It's funny. This is not the first Mage song on guitar, but it is the first one that we wrote on guitar. Also, the first one that I played guitar on.
Yeah, because the other guitar song we had, my good friend Caleb did guitar for us, and kudos to him. He's a pretty good guitar player. And I think that was also the song that we did for that, was he wrote it, right?
Yeah,
believe.
that was written by him too.
I think it just went on the end of our second album, if I'm right. First or second album?
It was off of Hootenanny.
Okay, so it was off the beginning of that first, or off the end of that first, album, which was, in my opinion, a pretty good way to end it. A little different. It was a nice little ditty. But yeah, this is, I think the build on this one is definitely the highlight, in my opinion.
It's an interesting song for us, I feel like.
It's a lot different than what we normally do, which is sort of a theme on a lot of the tracks on this album.
Yeah.
We've just been trying to experiment more with stuff we don't normally do, because, trying to be interesting. But
yeah. And this was actually the very first song that we wrote for the album, because this was written mid 2020, I think. I'm glad we re-recorded it, because I remember going back to I found like the file for the original version a while back, and it wasn't very good.
What are you talking about? The only things we record are good. We've never recorded a bad song in our life.
Nah, yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe it wasn't bad, but let me tell you, it was. What did the kids say? It was pretty mid.
It's the worst thing it can be.
Because there were a few like very slight changes that were made as far as like melody wise. I think it felt more natural the way that we ended up finally recording it as.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the first version. I think I listened to the first version a couple times, like next to it, just to compare them, and definitely the new one flows a lot better. Also, the reverb was not, I don't think, super prevalent on in the first version. I could be wrong about that also, but the sort of reverberating guitar adds a lot into that, especially next to when you get to that breakdown, the just raw drums, because I'm sure there are, but it doesn't sound to the listener like there's a whole ton of effects on those drums. It just sounds like drums.
Yeah.
It sounds like clean recorded drums. That sort of difference between the two makes that build up feel a lot bigger, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this one has like the most vague backstory. I don't remember like writing it as far as about anything specific necessarily. It definitely felt right being not, not quite near the last two tracks of the album, but nearing the end.
I always, for a long time, I was gunning for this to be the last track until we got the actual last track, which I think is better as the
Yeah.
last track. But had it not been for that one, I think I would have voted a little stronger towards this being the last track, because I love the way that it fades out at the very end. I think
Yeah.
that would be a good way to end an album, though not necessarily this one. All right. On to the next one.
Yes, on to the next one.
This is I Hate You, But I Love Your Taste in Music.
I don't listen to them to think of you. I only listen to them because I want to. Sometimes I think of you and feel really sick. I hate you, but I love your taste in music.
So that was I Hate You, But I Love Your Taste in Music. The second longest title on the track. Or
Yes,
title
that-
on the album.
That was definitely another one where we had the title, and I was like, I need to write a song about this. Except that was the one that I came up with. I'm like, yeah, I need to write.
I mean,
this.
yeah, you kind of gotta.
This is definitely if we want to go by like the breakup theme, this is like the last song in that saga.
I mean, there it is.
A bit, actually not even a bit, very very tongue in cheek with that, and just a good ending to that, I think.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun making this one, especially with the sort of ending there, with sort of both of our vocals just kind of going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
That was
And,
a fun little addition.
A very fun fact about this song, which I'm sure you can attest to. I don't know if you still have the file for this, but we were getting ready to like record this one, but I only had not written a second verse, and so I sent you like a demo where I sang everything, and then when I got to the second verse, I was just like, "Bra, ba, ba, da, ba, 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 da, ba, da," and then I just
Yeah.
started like scatting like Kanye. And at one point, I don't know how this decision got made. It was probably you, I feel like, that suggested, "Hey, why don't we like include that somehow?" And so I ended up writing the entire second verse with that like leading up to that in mind, which I'm kind of like.
I feel
I'm
like
kinda,
that
like,
works.
proud of
out.
myself for though. Yeah, I kind of proud of myself for that though, because I really do like the flow of the second verse just in general.
It flows really
Um,
well, honestly.
Yeah, and it's really funny. I have to show you this. I don't think I've ever shared it with you, but I was like fearing, because that's one of my personal favorites that I feel like is kind of underrated. But I was thinking, if anybody like complains that, oh my gosh, that second verse is so awful, I made this meme, and I'll flash it on screen when I edit.
So true. So true. That was the whole goal. So when we were first making it, it was just Gabe going brat, brat, brat. And then Eric in the stew sort of took it and did all the like bass stuff to it, and like
Yeah,
the
all the, like,
trap
the-
remix in it.
Yeah, the Mage trap
it-
remix.
Yeah, it used to just be like ukulele and Gabe doing that, and it just worked out so well.
Yeah.
Highly recommend
he-
blasting it in a car if you can. It's
Oh,
very
true.
funny.
Yeah, it was funny too, because I think we were literally just planning for it to be that, without that extra trap percussion and stuff. And while he was mixing it, he texted me and was like, "Do you want me to like add like like trap production on this, and I was like, yes,
Yeah, 100%, 100%
please,
yes.
please do it.
That's so funny.
But no, I definitely do like the song a lot, and just the entire flow of it. The chorus I feel like is probably our most like, I guess sing-songy, if you will.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
Off this
but
album, at least, it's the most musical. That's maybe not the right word, but we're gonna
yeah,
go with it.
sure, why not? It's
We're
the
gonna
most
we're gonna
musical
s-
song on the album.
we're gonna stick to it. It's the most musical. I meant in like a theatrical sense, but you know what I mean.
Oh, I get
Uh,
you. I get you. Okay.
you know what I mean. This song, the second verse hasn't aged great. Ignore that.
Oh, yeah, you know,
Ignore that.
it's
He was fine still when we wrote it.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, you know, you'll have to define fine, I guess. Because like some people would argue he never was, but anyway. You
yeah,
know,
you know what I mean. He
it's
wasn't
just
being blatantly, Anyways, that's not the point
anyway.
here.
Yeah,
It's aged
the
a little poorly, but we're not going to change it because I think
we're
it's
not
funny.
gonna. Yeah, it's funny, and you know, as long as you want to separate the
Art from artist.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I already had to do that anyway in the past,
It's
so
not like Kanye is a stand-up guy, so
yeah, it's not like, oh no, now it's I mean, it is worse, but it's not like
it's
it's not like
worse, but
it wasn't like it was a huge jump.
we didn't take a huge jump. It was just like it was like two steps, and everyone was like, it's
Yeah, but I mean,
maybe
by
too
that
far.
point, yeah, by that point we were already like separating it.
Honestly,
Yeah, you know, Through the Wire, still a good song.
I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not gonna deny
Yeah,
that one.
but anyway,
Yeah. Other than that, I
yeah.
don't think I have anything to add to this one. I don't
Um,
think.
One thing that I will add, which is funny because it was entirely unintentional on your part, but with the but it worked out really well because at the end of it, we hold that long note, and it was supposed to just repeat the exact same, no changes, but Alden's voice, like I guess, kind of cracked a little bit, but
Oh
it
yeah.
cracked at the exact perfect time because it wasn't like off key or anything, and it added like an extra little flair to it, and
Yeah.
that was like unintentional, but it sounds really good to me.
It worked out, even if it was definitely just my voice cracking in the middle of holding
Yeah,
a note, because I'm not very good at holding notes. It's never been my strong suit. Um, but it definitely worked out for the better. Just sort of musically, it sounds a lot better. You definitely cut out for a second, but it's okay.
yeah, I'm good. I'm here again.
All right.
We're
Um,
nearing the end of it, so it's okay.
Yeah, we got one more here. So this is our final track off the album, entitled "Best Friend."
You got to hear that sound one more time.
What a great sound! What a great sound!
You're my best friend and I love you, my dude, and I like talking to you. And you're the coolest person I've ever met, and that might have to change one day when I meet my wife. But for now I have gotta say, I think you're pretty alright.
That was the 10th and final track off of this is the best the best we're gonna get, entitled "Best Friend." This was the final track we recorded, if I'm
Yes.
remembering correctly, and
Yeah.
is definitely sort of the culmination of all the I'd call it the culmination of all the ideas that we had sort of all put together on this album, or throughout this album. Everything that we sort of had ideas for sort of comes together on this track, or is at least represented in some way or another in this track. So very, very good closer, if you ask me.
Yeah, once we got the song done, it was like this literally has to be the closer.
Especially
this-
the ending of that song. It's just nothing goes after that. You don't put
Yeah.
anything back after it.
Oh, absolutely. I especially love the part where it wasn't even recorded this way. This was just something that Eric added, where everything kind of like the guitar is no longer there. It just has like the organ or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what you call it.
The keys,
The
synth, whatever
keys,
you want to call
yeah.
it.
And then it comes back in and kind of goes like halftime. It's like
Yeah.
so good.
It's very, very good. The intro is, in my opinion, one of the strongest off the tracks. Just with the one ear hearing that really distorted, loud guitar, acoustic guitar, into
Yeah.
sort of the more electric, like filled out stuff after just dun 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 dun.
Yeah, for
So
sure. It opens very nicely, and it's one of my I mean, a lot of these are one of my favorites, but I I do really like the way that this song opens because I mean a lot of the songs on this album I feel like have like a decent amount of build up, and that works for those songs, but I really like how this one kind of jumps right into it. Basically,
yeah,
I like that a lot.
yeah, same. It's a really good flow for the whole thing.
Yeah, and another thing I like is how I think the first part of the song, specifically the chorus, um, is in a bit of a lower register, and it hits like that high at the end of it. Someday, and
Yeah.
then on the choruses to follow, it kind of stays up there,
Hmm.
which I always like when songs have, introduces you to the chorus, and then the next time it shows up, it's like different.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, in this case, maybe a way to describe it is like how when you get to the next chorus, it feels more lived in a way.
Hmm. That's
I
fair.
guess
Yeah.
is one way to say it. Yeah, and I do like how each chorus is kind of different in that sense because you have the lower one, the higher one, and then the third one, which is like the second one, except it has the added layers of the bridge continuing all the way through it.
Yeah. That vocal layer is especially a great effect on that. Just to make stuff stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. And fun fact, actually, I remember writing the bridge for it, and originally thinking, oh, we'll do the bridge, and then we'll not continue it, but we'll just go right back into the chorus, and then we'll repeat the chorus with the with the bridge joining in. But I feel like that was just like way too convoluted. Like I figured out, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's too much. That's just like no. Um, because yeah, the way it is now, it definitely leads to the end very nicely.
Hmm. I
Um,
think it just closes everything out really well. Also notable the little sound effects that were added in, uh, with the haze, which I believe is a sample, not us.
Wait, what's the?
Unless you recorded that, the little yells and
Oh, there was
the
like the woos or whatever.
yeah, the like hey, and then the dog barking. Those weren't us. Those were
Yeah,
sampled, I believe.
yeah. As far as like the woos go, during like when I was recording that, I had like the mic out here, and I just went, "Woo!"
Hmm.
um, and I guess Eric just turned that up and made it more of like an effect, really,
Oh,
and
okay.
and repeated it too. Um, and then I like how the third time you're expecting the woo and it's just a dog bark, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, same. It's a great little effect. It just adds character.
And I also like how it leads into the second chorus with we did record the hey.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
um
realize that was us. I always thought that was a sample for some
nah.
reason. I don't know why.
No, we recorded that together too.
Did we?
Yeah.
I have a really bad memory. I don't know what to tell you.
No, it's chill. I've been there. But as far as like I guess lyrically go, lyric what am I saying? As far
Lyrics
as
go.
like lyrics go, yeah, I tried to like use a more special word, but it didn't really work out for me. Um imagine I said as far as like lyricality goes, no. But no, as far as like inspiration for it and everything, one of my friends who I've known for like the longest time, I just knew for a while that I wanted to write a song for her, but I just never got around to it. And this album cycle, I was just like, I want to like include it here and
Hmm.
like attempt to. Um, and that's kind of funny how that's kind of like represented in the first verse. Like the first verse is just like me saying like, okay, I'm finally getting around to it. Which I like when songs feel kind of specific to whoever is writing it. And it is funny too, how I chose lyrics that I did choose, specifically with the whole theme of like, oh, you're my best friend, but for now.
Yeah.
That was like a little thematic element that I liked a lot, and it's actually really funny because literally 2 months after the album came out, I got a girlfriend, and now she's technically my best friend. So the lyrics
Gotta
really
say
like,
that one.
yeah, for real. I wrote the song at the best possible time. It just ended up working out very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how to finish off with it, but basically I like how the lyrics turned out as well as just the overall vibe of the song, and I think that it's probably our best guitar song.
I
Probably.
agree. I agree. I
Yeah.
think it's the best guitar song just because of how it works with everything else that's been made
Yeah.
so far.
So yeah, that is every track on the album. You know the story and the process behind all of them.
Every
There's
track.
yeah, that's the CD right there. Uh, Go to our Instagram at mage_band, DM us the word CD, and we will give you the link to get one.
We will not buy one for you. We are both broke. Please don't ask us to. I think somewhere in existence there are also shirts. If I don't know if you still have the link, they might still exist.
If I have the link, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's somewhere around here.
We got to make new shirts. Those were
we
from the Hootenanny era.
we actually really should make new shirts because I'll
Yeah.
say I like my shirt, but I need a new one. So I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna do the YouTuber thing. Where can they?
Okay.
If the people want to find you, where can they find you, Gabe?
They can find me at Bagel Gabe on everything.
At Bagel Gabe on everything. The only place you probably want to find me is on tweetster.com, which is at Mamie Gamer.
Yeah.
Don't actually follow me. I'm not funny.
If you want to follow an account on Twitter that has to do with Alden, follow our Mage account.
True.
Yeah.
True. Maybe one day I'll tweet on there. I'm
Honestly,
signed in. I'm signed into it on my phone. So
Ooh.
there's that constant threat that I might tweet something. I think that's about it. My name is Alden.
My name is Gabe. Listen to our album, The Best We're Gonna Get. Yeah, that's all I got.
Bye.